Hello guys, this is the first time I'm recording this kind of video, so I'm a little nervous. Right now I have almost 40,000 subscribers, which I definitely never imagined coming close to, so thank you guys for that. The least I can do is a Q&A, and depending on how this video is received, I might do more stuff like this. From Iride. Where do you get ideas for your illustration character poses? And if you can tell us a tip for lining or picking colors for illustrations, it would be very helpful. Oh, and if you ever see this comment, I want you to know that you are amazing. Your illustrations are very inspiring and beautiful. Keep on the good work. Your English was fine. It was definitely fine. I understood you perfectly. And so for things like poses, I try to get as dynamic as I can with the poses while still, you know, being within the bounds of like what I'm actually capable of doing. Because it's nice to have a cool pose and all, but if you can't draw it, it's gonna look bad either way. So having a balance between knowing how your skills are at the moment and, you know, just being creative with how you pose stuff. Because there's definitely a lot of poses that I would like to try, but I would never post the drawing. I would practice that sort of angle first. And also for a tip about lining. So when it comes to lining, at least generally how I do it, so say you have your sketch here, and when I line, I don't have my density set to 100%. I usually like playing with the density when it comes to lining and coloring, and usually my density ends up like around, at least on side 2, around like 80%, with a brush size around 6 to 8. And so when it's at like 80% opacity, it kind of, you know, gives off this vibe. It's kind of softer. It's not 100% opaque, but if you were to do it with like 100% opacity, then it would give off a really harsh kind of feeling. Sort of like, which for my style doesn't really go well with since I paint more. So I have to be able to see like under the lines. I guess, yeah, this sort of stuff I guess would be good for like things like cell shading, but at least not for my style. It doesn't really work. From Sketching Kitty, what's your process for making art? What are the general steps you go through? Love your work. The general steps I go through, well, first off, I start off with a sketch, right? And the thing is, with my sketches, I don't actually include all the details in there. I just start off with like the body shape, and when I actually go into like my lining, that's when I include all of my like details like clothes and hair. That way I can cut down on work. That's why my lines are really just clean sketches. And so from here I can like just make effort to be extra clean, so that way I can just call this my lines and call it a day. Also another thing, I remember I used to like seriously hate lining because I always felt my sketches looked better, and then when I see the fully lined thing, I thought, you know, it kind of felt lackluster. So a way to combat that is, for me at least, it was making sure the opacity of the sketching layer was really, really low. So the main focus, all you could really see was the line. So you can focus and concentrate on that more, that it looks good. Because if the opacity is too high and the sketch looks good, your lines might be like, you know, slightly off in certain places where you don't really notice too much because the sketch is covering it up. And then so when you only look at your lines, it kind of looks bad. So that's one tip. From Harumiu, do you always have this painterly messy style, or do you start drawing in a different way? I got my painterly messy style because I really don't have the patience for making clean drawings, honestly. I found that much easier to do than like full on like cell shading, line work, all of that clean stuff. From Rat Child, can you post your brush settings for Psy? Honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't really have any complex settings. The only brushes I use is this pencil main brush, and I just play around with the size and density. And another brush I use is also default size marker, this tool. You can see me using this tool a lot when shading skins. From Yuna Ea, hi, first of all, I hope you're having a great day. I love your art and I think it's truly beautiful. Thank you, I'm having a great day. What is your favorite color palette to use? Honestly, I don't really have a color palette that I really like or any specific thing like that, but I guess my favorite color is black. What hobbies do you have aside from art? I like covering, if you could probably tell from my videos, I like K-pop. So I cover K-pop dances sometimes. How did you find your art style? What do you suggest for others to find their own art style? And do you have a favorite artist that you look up to? I think these two questions are kind of connected because honestly, how I found my art style is because I have like artists that I look up to, right? So I kind of try to replicate them, but of course not be like 100% copycat. And my art style sort of became like a Frankenstein mash of all of the other art styles that I like. From Shuyo Anime. Here are a lot of questions for you because I love your art and everything about your channel. Thanks. How you color? Again, I have more of a painterly-ish style, so usually everything is kind of on one layer. When did I first start drawing? And how long have I been drawing? So I first technically started in 2nd grade, though I wasn't really that serious about it. I started actually getting more into art like around 5th grade. Right now I'm gonna go into 11th grade, so it's been about kind of like 6 years. And I first started digital art in 2013. That's when I first got my tablet, so that's already been 5 years, yeah. Do I watch anime? And if you do, what is your favorite anime? Yeah, I watch anime, definitely. I definitely watch anime. I used to watch stinker. Sorry, that was my sister's cat. But my favorite anime is probably Pandora Hearts, though I definitely like its manga better than the anime. So if you're gonna watch Pandora Hearts, please read the manga as well. Where are you from? I was born in America, so my parents are Chinese. From Made in China. What tablet do you use? Are there any other YouTube channels that you take inspiration for your art? So I use this Wacom into a small. It's kind of dinky, but you know it's cheap, so it's nice. And for YouTube channels that I take inspiration from, I don't necessarily have any of those, but I do have artists that I really look up to that do have YouTube channels. From Lori Velux. I'm sorry about your name, sorry. Strawberry or cherry? If we're talking about the actual fruit, I would like cherries better, but if we're talking artificial flavor, I like strawberries. From Kanina Nadira. Can you please make a detailed step-by-step video on how you make art? Because I'm starting out on digital art and I'm struggling so much. So really, detailed step-by-step, I really just go through the basic process of sketching, lining, base color, shading, and that's it really. The thing about digital art, if you're starting out, it's kind of hard to get used to the feeling of using a tablet. At first, it took me like a month to finally get used to actually drawing with a tablet and getting like okayly consistent results for it. From Little Minnow. Is there an artwork that you are most proud of and why? Right now I'm probably most proud of what I just recently drew, which is Vampire Avenger, which is one of my OCs. I just kind of really like how I shaded leather on that. From Colleen Carroll. I love the way you color digitally. Will you ever do a tutorial, or do you have any coloring advice, or can you link us to good tutorials? Thank you so much. I love your art a lot. Thank you. I can definitely do tutorials. I don't know how good they would be, but I can definitely try. And for coloring advice, generally you want your shadows to be more saturated and darker. So not just plainly on the scale of lightness to darkness. It looks better and like, you know, kind of looks at like have more life in it if it's also more saturated. From Frick Frock the Croc. How do you figure out the proportions on your characters' faces? For example, how far the eyes are spaced from each other and the ear. Really, humans are the best at detecting what's wrong with a human face. So generally, you know, if something feels off, then it probably is. And looking at, you know, just studying real life faces and proportions, like seeing how far away my eyes are from my nose and like eyebrows in here and like my ear, you know, so just basing stuff off of real life, figuring it out is more like just kind of observing really and noticing the little details like that. From Karina Hariyama. How long have you been drawing and how much do you practice? I already answered the drawing part, so how much do I practice? How much I actually draw? There are like some times where I just like just draw every day because there's stuff for me to draw, and sometimes I just like don't draw for a week because I'm doing other stuff. So it really does depend. From Malachi, any tips for beginner digital artists? Tips for digital painting? Tips for drawing backgrounds? And if you do read this, your art is amazing and very unique. Thank you again. So any tips for beginner digital artists? Make sure you feel comfortable with the tablet, because like earlier, digital art can be really hard because you're using a tablet which you probably never have used before, and it's a very different feeling from traditional art. You can't see your pen making contact like with a paper and like leaving a mark. So just getting used to that is really the first big step. And then everything after that is just technique for drawing. So that's the only thing that really, restrains a digital art is, getting used to the feeling of using a tablet. Tips for drawing backgrounds. I really can't give any of that. I hate drawing backgrounds. From Julie Ribbit, RBBT. Where do you get your inspiration from? Do you have a favorite artist, or do you use references from other artists to make yours? I really love your art. Oh my god, thank you. Yeah, I do have inspirations. So like, my favorite artists would be Kasi, 666 Pigeon, and Ray_17. From Material Fort, for the Q&A, have you ever used a mouse / your fingers to digitally draw in color? If you have, your opinions. Honestly, I really suck at it. There's people who are good at it, but that's just not me. So thank you for all the questions, guys, and thank you for all the subscribers. I hope this answers some of your guys' questions.